the most talented people in the world aren't the ones succeeding right now. They're hiding in plain sight, working ordinary jobs, living ordinary lives, telling themselves the same comforting lie: someday when the timing is right, I'll show the world what I'm capable of. But let me tell you a brutal truth that might offend you, that someday is a fantasy that doesn't exist. The people you admire most didn't wait for perfect timing. They created their timing while you're still making excuses. Have you ever noticed how the cemetery is the richest place on earth? Not because of buried treasures or hidden gold, but because it's filled with dreams that never came to life, books never written, songs never sung, and businesses never started. The cemetery is packed with potential that was never released. Why? Because someone was waiting for the perfect time. The clock is ticking right now. Can you hear it? Every second that passes is one you'll never get back. And yet, so many of us stand at the edge of our greatness, peering into the possibilities of what could be, but never taking that first step forward because we're waiting. Waiting for what? The perfect moment, the perfect circumstances, the perfect feelings, the perfect guarantees. But I came here today with an urgent message burning in my spirit. That perfect time you're waiting for doesn't exist. Some of you have been sitting on your purpose for months, some for years, some even for decades. You keep telling yourself, I'll start when the kids are older, or I'll pursue my dream when I have more money, or I'll take that risk when I feel more confident. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Those are all sophisticated excuses dressed up as wisdom. That's not wisdom, that's fear wearing a costume. Every single person in this room was born with a seed of greatness. You are not an accident or a cosmic mistake. You are here with a specific assignment, a particular purpose that only you can fulfill. But that purpose isn't going to manifest itself while you're waiting for perfect conditions. Have you ever planted a garden? I want you to think about this. If a farmer waited for perfect weather conditions, not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, not too dry, we would all starve. The farmer understands something fundamental. You plant in faith. Not in perfect conditions. You plant because it's planting season. Not because all conditions are ideal. Your life works the same way. There's a season for everything. And sometimes your season for action is right now. In the middle of your mess, in the midst of your uncertainty, surrounded by your fears. When my mother taught me to swim, she didn't start by giving me a lecture on swimming techniques while I sat safely on the shore. No, she took me into the water. Was I afraid? Absolutely. Did I feel ready? Not at all. But that's where I learned to swim, in the water, not on the shore. Too many of us are trying to learn to swim from the shore. We're studying success, reading about success, watching videos about success, attending seminars about success, but we never get wet. You will never learn to swim until you get in the water. And you will never succeed until you start. Why do we wait for perfect conditions? Because deep down, we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of looking foolish. We're afraid of criticism. We're afraid that we might not be as good as we hope we are. But here's what I've learned. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Let me ask you something. How many times did you fall when you were learning to walk? Hundreds of times, probably. But did your parents call a family meeting after your 20th fall and say, well, I guess walking isn't for him. Let's adjust our expectations. Of course not. They expected you to fall. They knew falling was part of learning. So why? As adults, have we developed this strange idea that we should wait until we can do something perfectly before we start? That's like saying, I'll start walking once I know how to run. Some of you are waiting for permission. You're waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, you're ready now. Let me be the one to tell you today, you have permission. Not from me, but from the one who placed that dream in your heart in the first place. The very presence of the dream is your permission to pursue it. Others are waiting for more knowledge. You think, once I get one more degree, one more certification, one more training session, then I'll be ready. But knowledge without action is just information. And we are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. Wisdom is applied knowledge. And you can only apply knowledge when you start doing something with what you already know. The truth is, you know enough right now to take the first step. The rest of what you need to know will come to you along the way. Some of you are waiting for more resources. When I have enough money, then I'll start my business. But resources don't come to those who wait, they come to those who initiate. When you start moving toward your purpose, resources start moving toward you. Have you ever noticed that opportunity doesn't come to those who wait? Opportunity comes to those who are already in motion. It's like trying to steer a parked car, it doesn't work. You have to start moving before you can change direction. I met a woman who told me she had been planning to write a book for 15 years. 15 years. When I asked her what was stopping her, she had a list of perfect conditions that hadn't been met yet. She needed a quieter house, more free time, better computer skills, connections in publishing. I asked her, have you written even one page? She hadn't. Meanwhile, someone else with fewer resources, less time, and more obstacles had written their book and published it. The difference wasn't talent or opportunity or circumstances. The difference was that one person started before they were ready, and the other was still waiting for the perfect time. I'm not suggesting you should be reckless. I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow with no plan. I'm not advising you to ignore wisdom and leap without looking. What I am saying is that there's a difference between preparation and procrastination. Preparation has a deadline. Procrastination disguises itself as preparation but never reaches a conclusion. Look at nature. Does a mother eagle wait until her eaglet feels completely comfortable before pushing it out of the nest? No, she knows that the eaglet will never discover its ability to fly unless it leaves the nest. The capacity is there, but it remains dormant until activated by necessity. Your greatest abilities might be dormant right now, waiting for the push of necessity. Sometimes the perfect time arrives precisely when you decide it has arrived. Sometimes you have to create your perfect moment by simply declaring, this is it, today. I start. Consider this. What if the obstacle you're waiting to disappear is actually there to help you develop the strength you'll need for the journey? What if the lack of money is there to force you to be creative? What if the lack of connections is there to make you more resourceful? What if the lack of time is there to teach you efficiency? What you perceive as obstacles might actually be opportunities in disguise, opportunities to develop the character and skills you'll need for where you're going. Let me share something powerful with you. When you start before you're ready, you trigger a spiritual law, the law of active faith. Faith isn't believing despite the evidence. It's obeying despite the consequences. Faith is taking the first step before you see the whole staircase. When you take that step, something supernatural happens. Resources you didn't know existed suddenly become available. People you needed to meet somehow cross your path. Ideas and solutions come to you in the shower or while you're driving. Because you've put yourself in the position to receive them. You've demonstrated your readiness not by waiting but by beginning. There's a cost to waiting for the perfect time. Dreams don't have an infinite shelf life. The longer you wait, the more likely that passion will fade, that vision will dim, that purpose will be forgotten. I've spoken with too many elderly people who look back with regret, not at what they did, but at what they didn't do. Not at the failures they experienced, but at the attempts they never made. Is that what you want for your life? To look back and wonder, what if I had just started? The perfect time is a myth that has kept too many people in prison in the waiting room of life. Today, I'm offering you a key to that prison door. The key is a decision to start where you are, with what you have. Take inventory right now. What do you have in your hands? What knowledge? What skills? What relationships? What resources do you already possess? They might seem small to you, insignificant even. But remember, everything big starts small. The mighty oak tree was once an acorn. The most successful business in your industry once made its first dollar. The most accomplished musician once played their first note. They didn't wait for perfect. They started with small. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Part 2. You know what fascinates me? The power of decisions. The moment you truly decide something, the universe seems to conspire to make it happen. But many of us haven't made real decisions. We've made wishes. We've made preferences. We've made tentative commitments dependent on perfect conditions. A real decision cuts off all other possibilities. The word decision comes from Latin, meaning to cut off. When you decide, you cut off all other options. You burn the bridges behind you so that you have no choice but to move forward. But we've become masters of leaving escape hatches. I'll try this new business, but if it doesn't work out in 6 months, I'll quit. That's not a decision, that's a trial period. I'll pursue my purpose unless it gets too difficult. That's not commitment, that's convenience. What's holding you back from making a real decision today? I've counseled thousands of people, and I've discovered there are deeper issues at work when we constantly wait for the perfect time. Some of us are paralyzed by perfectionism. You think your first attempt needs to be flawless. But perfection is the enemy of progress. Did you know that the Wright brothers' first flight lasted only 12 seconds and traveled just 120 feet? Was it perfect? Far from it. But that imperfect flight changed the world forever. What if they had waited until they could fly across the country? We might still be traveling by boat. They understood something profound. Progress beats perfection every time. Others are trapped by comparison. You look at someone who's been in the game for years, and you think your beginning should look like their middle. You see the polished presentation of someone's journey and compare it to your messy first draft. That's not just unfair, it's illogical. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master was once a disaster. The only difference between them and the people who never made it is that they were willing to be bad first on the way to becoming good. I know a young man who wanted to start a catering business. He had a passion for food and everyone loved his cooking. But he kept postponing his start because his kitchen wasn't as equipped as the professional kitchens he saw online. He didn't have the perfect pots, the perfect knives, the perfect workspace. One day, his neighbor had an emergency and needed to feed 30 people by evening with no time to prepare and no perfect equipment. He stepped up. He cooked in his imperfect kitchen with his imperfect tools. Was it the best meal he ever prepared? No, but it was good enough that 5 people at that gathering hired him for their events. Today, He has that professional kitchen he dreamed of. But he would never have gotten there if he had waited for perfect conditions to start. His beginning was messy, but necessary. Some of you are paralyzed by the magnitude of your vision. The dream is so big that you don't know where to start. So you don't start at all. But here's a principle I live by. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly until you can learn to do it well. Break that massive vision down. What's the smallest step you could take today? If you want to write a book, could you write one paragraph? If you want to build a business empire, could you make one sale? If you want to transform your health, could you take one walk? Big dreams don't require big beginnings, they just require beginnings. Some of you are waiting because of past failures. You tried before, and it didn't work out. So now you're waiting for a guarantee that your next attempt will succeed. But there are no guarantees in life except this one if you don't try again. You've guaranteed your failure. Failure isn't fatal unless you make it final by refusing to get back up. Every great success story is also a story of great setbacks. The question isn't whether you'll fail, you will. The question is whether you use that failure as an excuse to quit or as a lesson to improve. Remember this, the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. For others. The barrier is fear of criticism. You're waiting until you're so good that no one can criticize you. But that day will never come. The more significant your work, the more criticism it will attract. Criticism is the tax you pay for impact. When you do nothing, you'll still be criticized for doing nothing. So if criticism is inevitable either way, wouldn't you rather be criticized while pursuing your purpose than while neglecting it? Some people are waiting for a feeling of confidence, a feeling of readiness, a feeling of certainty. But those feelings often come after action, not before. Confidence is a result of competence. And competence comes from practice. You've got it backward if you're waiting to feel confident before you start. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of fear. The people you admire for their courage still feel fear. They've just developed the habit of not letting fear make their decisions. I met a woman who transformed her community by starting a program for at-risk youth. She told me that on the day of her first event, she was so nervous she threw up twice before opening the doors. I wasn't ready. She said, I didn't feel confident. I just showed up anyway. 8 years later, her program has helped thousands of young people find purpose and direction. Had she waited until her nerves subsided, until she felt totally prepared, those thousands of lives would remain untouched. Some of you are waiting for clarity for the entire path to be illuminated before you take the first step. But clarity comes with movement. It's like driving at night, your headlights only show you the next 200 feet. But you can make the entire journey that way, 200 feet at a time. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. The next step will become clear once you take the step in front of you. I've heard every excuse. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't have the right education. I don't have the right connections. The economy isn't good right now. My family doesn't support me. Someone else is already doing it better. These are all variations of the same fundamental lie, that there's a perfect time coming and you're justified in waiting for it. But what if today? Yes. Today, with all its imperfections, all its challenges, all its limitations, what if today is your perfect time? What if your obstacles aren't blocking your way? What if they are the way? What if your lack isn't your limitation but your launching pad? What if your pain isn't your prison, but your platform? What if your scars aren't your shame, but your strength? What if your past isn't your prediction, but your preparation? The truth is, the perfect time is a luxury that doesn't exist. Time itself is not a renewable resource. Once this day is gone, it's gone forever. The question isn't when will conditions be perfect. The question is, what will you do with this day you've been given? Stop waiting for the perfect time. The time is now. The place is here. And the person is you. Let me give you something practical now. How do you actually start when conditions aren't perfect? I want to share with you principles that have transformed countless lives, people who stopped waiting and started creating their future. First, embrace the power of small beginnings. Too many of us are waiting to make a big splash. We want our first step to be spectacular. But most significant achievements begin with humble, even embarrassing first steps. Think about a baby learning to walk. Those first steps are wobbly, uncertain, even comical. But without those imperfect steps, the child would never run. Your first YouTube video might only get 10 views. Your first product might only have 1 customer. Your first speech might be delivered to an almost empty room. That's not failure, that's foundation. Water the seed you have, not the harvest you want. Be faithful with your small beginning, and it will grow into something significant. Second, create before you consume. Many of us start our days consuming check-in messages, scrolling through social media, watching videos, reading news. We fill our minds with other people's content before we've created anything of our own. Reverse that pattern. Whatever your goal is, writing, business building, fitness, education, spend the first hour of your day creating, not consuming. Give your dream the first fruits of your energy, not the leftovers. Third, establish daily non-negotiables. Success isn't about dramatic, occasional efforts. It's about consistent, daily disciplines. What are the 1 or 2 actions that, if done daily, would inevitably move you toward your goal? Identify those actions and make them non-negotiable. Not when I feel like it or when conditions are right, but every single day, regardless of circumstances. A woman I know wanted to become a paid speaker. Her non-negotiable was to reach out to 3 potential speaking venues every day. Were there days when she felt discouraged? Absolutely. Were there days when other priorities screamed for attention? Of course. But she made those 3 contacts every day without fail. Within 18 months, she was booked solid with paid speaking engagements. Fourth, find your starting ritual. One of the biggest obstacles to beginning is simply beginning. Once you're in motion, continuing is much easier. So develop a simple ritual that signals to your brain, it's time to start. It might be making a cup of tea before you write. It might be a specific playlist when you exercise. It might be organizing your desk before you work on your business. The ritual itself doesn't matter. What matters is that it becomes a trigger that bypasses your resistance and puts you into action mode. Fifth, practice strategic ignorance. There's a time for learning and a time for doing. Many of us hide behind endless research, telling ourselves we're preparing when we're actually procrastinating. Sometimes you need to deliberately ignore how much you don't know and focus entirely on what you can do right now with what you do know. Too much information without application leads to paralysis, not progress. Sixth, find an accountability partner. We're remarkably good at breaking promises to ourselves, but much less likely to break promises to others. Find someone who believes in your vision but won't accept your excuses. Tell them specifically what you commit to doing and by when. Give them permission to hold you to that commitment. Meet regularly to report your progress or lack thereof. Our potential expands when we know someone is watching, expecting us to become more than we currently are. Seventh and finally, celebrate your attempts, not just your achievements. Many of us withhold self-approval until we reach the finish line. But the journey itself deserves celebration. Did you take action despite fear? That's a victory. Did you continue after a setback? That's a triumph. Did you step out of your comfort zone? That's a success. When you celebrate the attempt, you reinforce the most important quality you need for long-term success, the willingness to begin before conditions are perfect. You build an identity as someone who acts, not someone who waits. These 7 principles aren't complicated, but they are transformative when applied consistently. They don't require perfect circumstances. They work especially well when circumstances aren't perfect. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Part 4. There's a deeper dimension to this principle of not waiting for the perfect time. It touches the very essence of why we're here and what we're designed to do. You were created to be a producer, not just a consumer. You were designed to contribute, not just to take. You were formed to add value to this world in a way that no one else can. When you wait for perfect conditions, you deny the world your unique contribution. And that's not just a personal loss, it's a loss for all of us. Think about it this way. What if the people who most influenced your life had waited for perfect conditions? What if they had postponed their purpose until everything lined up just right? Would you be the same person you are today? We stand on the shoulders of people who refuse to wait. People who said, I don't have everything I need, but I'll start with what I have. People who understood that imperfect action trumps perfect inaction every time. This is about more than just personal success. It's about stewardship, being faithful with what you've been entrusted. Your talents, your experiences, your insights, your passion, these weren't given to you to be buried until perfect conditions arrive. They were given to be invested now, today. In the midst of your imperfect reality, the most dangerous form of procrastination isn't laziness. It's the active postponement of your purpose while you busy yourself with lesser things. It's the daily choice to focus on the urgent rather than the important. It's the decision to organize your life around comfort rather than calling. Some of you are living a shadow life, a life that resembles what you're capable of, but lacks the substance, the impact, the fulfillment of your true purpose. And deep down, you know it. There's a restlessness in your spirit, a sense that you were made for more than this, a feeling that you're playing small when you were designed to play big. That restlessness isn't your enemy. It's your ally. It's the internal alarm telling you that it's time to stop waiting and start becoming. We often pray for God to bless our plans, when what we really need is the courage to follow his purpose. And rarely, almost never does that purpose wait for perfect conditions to be revealed. Purpose is revealed in the doing, not in the waiting. Not in the stepping out. Not in the standing still. In the risking. Not in the protecting. You already know what step you need to take. You've known for some time now. It's the thing that keeps you up at night. It's the dream that won't let you go. It's the idea that continues to resurface despite your attempts to ignore it. Stop asking for more signs. You've had enough signs. Stop asking for more time. You've had enough time. Stop asking for more resources. You can start with what you have. The question is not whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Willing to be uncomfortable. Willing to be criticized. Willing to fail forward. Willing to begin before you feel ready. Willing to keep going when results are slow to come. That willingness, that decision to start now. Not later. That's the birthplace of everything meaningful you'll ever create. So where do we go from here? What happens when this moment ends and you return to your everyday life with its demands and distractions? The power of this message isn't in the hearing, it's in the doing. And the doing must start today. Right now, in this moment, I want you to identify one step. Just one. Not your entire journey. Not your 5-year plan. Just one definitive step you can take within the next 24 hours. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it something you can look back on tomorrow and say, I did that. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been postponing. Maybe it's registering that domain name. Maybe it's writing the first paragraph of your book. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation. Maybe it's signing up for that class. Whatever it is, decide now. Commit now. Because if not now, when? If not you? Who? The greatest tragedy isn't failing at your purpose. The greatest tragedy is never attempting it. Some of you have been asking all the wrong questions. You've been asking, what if I fail? When you should be asking, what if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? You've been asking, what if it's too hard? When you should be asking, what if it's exactly what I was born to do? Time is going to pass anyway. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, that time will come whether you take action or not. The only question is, where will you be when it arrives? Will you be a year closer to your purpose or a year deeper into regret? This isn't meant to pressure you. It's meant to liberate you. There's incredible freedom in realizing that you don't need perfect conditions to begin your perfect purpose. You have everything you need right now to take the first step. And once that step is taken, the next will become clear. And the next after that. Remember, destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Your future isn't something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you, because of the choices you make. The actions you take. And the courage you display. So I challenge you. With everything in me, stop waiting for the perfect time. That time is a myth. Your time is now. Start messy. Start small. Start scared. But start. The world is waiting for what only you can give. We're waiting for you to become who you were created to be. And that becoming begins the moment you decide that imperfect action today is better than perfect action someday. Your purpose can't wait. Your potential can't wait. Your time is now.